coaching and being able to unpack all that during your training helps you so that when you get to that point that you can make those decisions and you know who you are and what you're capable of, or maybe even better, you know that you've got that inner strength to go find new things.
Alrighty. Well, on this episode of Light on the Trail podcast, I've got a guest, someone I've seen before. I'm not sure if we even talked the first time, but a member of the Burleson Running Club who I've had on and talked a lot about with before. But I've seen and heard he was a coach, and somebody, if you saw my post, I was like, hey, if you're a coach, let me know. And somebody quick was like, hey, Mr. Chris Hill, he does it. The guy lives right down the road. We just did a couple miles out here in Chisenhall, a great place where we like to do some races. We'll talk about that. Talked about doing races out here, but where we do a lot of running with the club and many a mile. But he is a coach, and he has quite the background in many things. Very interesting. So I'm excited for this. We're, I wasn't call it a fish tank, in the vehicle right now because it's quite windy outside. And it's nice to go and run, and it feels great running right now because you warm up and it's a little chilly, but we're indoors trying to get out of the wind because it'll tear these mics up. But so, Mr. Chris Hill, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, and I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come chat with you and come chat with the running community.
Yeah, this is good. The idea, and I told him, and that's what we talked about. I was like, people, 2025 is coming up, and a lot of times people look into, what am I going to do new? I'm going to, try this new nutrition. I'm going to do this. Here's my goal. They set goals and they want to get better. And a lot of times for that comes in new training ideas and then possibly coaches. So here's a coach, and I'm going to pick his brain and talk to him. And if you're in the area or however it works, we'll touch all that towards the end too of how you can get a hold of him. But this is an opportunity for us to learn and for people to learn about Chris Hill. So what is your background as far as coaching? We talked about this a little bit on the trail out there, but in coaching and then health and fitness and all that kind of realm of stuff.
Yeah, so currently I coach endurance sports. I started out as a cycling coach, and so back in 2014 when I began coaching, it was strictly cycling. And I've had some pretty good success on my own and had lots of success with the people I coach. And, if I can just touch on a minute, what kind of people do I coach? Well, I coach normal people. I'm not coaching Olympic athletes or professionals, but I'm coaching people that want to improve. Personally, they want to beat a PR, they want to lose some weight, that kind of thing. So it's normal people who are interested in endurance sports. But as we were talking about before, I kind of came to running by accident, literally. I've dabbled in running throughout the years, and it never seemed to be my kind of sport. But I had a bicycle accident.
Yes.
And broke 5 ribs, and 3 of them were broke through and through, and the doctor warned me, don't do anything that I might fall down. So I went to running. And knowing the lack of success I had in running, I decided to approach it as if I was coaching myself. And I found out that I could coach myself through the knees that hurt, through the back that hurt, through the, picking out shoes and learning what I'm good at. And I've had a lot of success. And I want to, my whole thing about coaching is helping people find their own success.
It's always good when the chef eats what he cooks.
Yeah.
As a way to, look at it like, hey, guys, I've tried this stuff on myself. I know what I'm talking about. I've put it into practice. And, especially when you have some clients or people you worked with, they're like, yeah, man, like he knows what he's talking about. With the cycling, and we can talk about that. I have it on my note for whenever, but you were, what was the time trial thing in 2022?
2023.
23.
State time trial champion in the 55 to 59 age group category.
Awesome. And you had, and I read and his website, and I'll mention it now, but we'll talk about it again. But it is Type 2 Fun. No,
Type
not
2
Type 2
Sports.
Sports, not fun. That was going to be my. If you've heard that phrase before, secondhand fun or secondhand, Type 2.
Type 2 fun.
It's that. Later you talk about it and it's fun, or right now it can be hard, but it pays off later. But you've got a good little story that kind of talked about that when I was doing my research, and I'm like, oh, let me be a good guy and look into some of this and check out his website, and it's but there's a story in there with that trial. Was it that time trial when it said, I think you got like a flat and you still finished like the last couple miles?
Yes.
Oh my.
It was actually probably one of my worst moments of behavior on the bike.
Oh, behavior.
Yeah, I was 3 miles from the finish line, and there was a big chunk of asphalt that I hit.
Like a hole, or like just on the road?
It was a chunk. It was on top of the road.
Oh.
And I got what's called a pinch flat on my front tire. And I got off the bike, and I picked it up, and I just felt like I wanted to chunk it.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, no, that's not what you do. You just keep going. And I thought, I am going to push. And I can't even tell you how many watts I was putting out.
Yeah.
But I think that
Hard.
anger.
Yeah.
It did something, and it pushed me. And I think I came in with 18 seconds to spare for that first place finish.
Got it done. Yeah, on a flat. I'm
On
sure
a
when
flat
you
front tire.
when you came through, they were probably like, "Does his that doesn't look like it's supposed to look?" You're like,
Yeah.
just click the button. Yeah, let it finish.
It's part of that persistence, and and I actually coach this with people is, don't let your circumstances dictate how you attack the race or the course or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. You gotta. We kind of talked about that too out there. Just mental strength and having proper things lined up and goals and stuff, and just get after it. Be in the moment, every step, every breath. Just put the work in and get it done. So with your clients, what's a typical someone reaches out to you or something? What's some of the first things you like to cover, or like your favorite things to kind of touch base with on somebody who's looking to get help?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing is why.
Yeah.
Why are you reaching out? And sometimes it's somebody says, well, a friend referred me. And so my next question is, well, what kind of goals do you have? What have you done? Where have you been successful? And where do you think I can help you grow? So it's really getting to know the person who's reaching out. And that's key to any kind of coaching relationship, is the relationship piece.
Okay, with the coach. And right, I should be honest with you, or feel comfortable being honest with you and telling you my real weakness or my real strength, so that we can improve on that. Because that's the foundation. If you start off, you're like, well, when I told you I was good at this, I'm kind of okay at it, and I injured my whatever 2 years ago. You're like, oh
Right.
my gosh, man, like yeah, that's very critical. Is that yeah?
Oh yeah. So building that rapport, that's kind of the first thing. But then, really digging into how I can be a good coach, because a coach needs to be a bunch of different, or wear a bunch of different hats. For some people, they need a cheerleader, someone who's going to say, way to go, good job. Hey, I saw you on Strava, or, whatever that is. Another is, needs the drill sergeant. Hey, I saw you missed your workout.
I saw you not on Strava. Yeah. Yes.
Interestingly, I get a lot of people who like the education aspect.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I want to get better, but I just don't want somebody to tell me what to do. I want to know, why am I doing it? And so, as we talked about before, my background is a lot to do with education.
Yes,
both,
yes.
Kids and adults. I was in the service for a long time, and I was actually a Russian language instructor. And so I taught adults language. And if you ever took, and I think you said you took some
a little bit of Russian,
language,
yeah.
a lot of people take Spanish or whatnot. they realize how frustrating it is as a teenager, imagine how even more frustrating it is as an adult. So, so I love the teaching aspect.
Yeah.
And helping people understand, why are you doing hill repeats? When you'd rather just be out on a nice, easy run.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do good, like you're saying, that like the information and want it because it gives either a justification or a good reasoning while they're doing it, where they can't have that thought of like, this is dumb, or they're just making me run, or, it's not just a lap. Like, well, here's the reason why for this, X, Y, Z, this is why we're doing it. And people can, either get it done or even do it harder or better or more like intently, because they know like, oh, this is for my quads. This is for rest day or what,
Exactly.
Is there, how much into, well, what would be a common, either, I don't want to say fix, but either in a workout or something that a runner is not doing or they're overdoing, or even with like nutrition or diet, what's just a common thing that you're quick like, okay, you see this thing often, here's what we do. Maybe it's how, is this how they're running, or, foot placement or mental, just, is there anything that just stands out where you're commonly like?
Yeah. So I think, to be honest, and this isn't just runners, this is endurance athletes in general. Very common to see that athletes will go too hard on their easy days and too easy on their hard days.
There you go, because I am guilty. I'm guilty of that. And most people, and when I really try, and I use the word intent again, when I'm like, look, you haven't had a, quote, easy day, slow day, like you're not going to go faster than this pace, or your heart rate's not going to go over this, like, dude. And thankfully, I can be pretty honest with myself and correct myself. But yeah, some people need the coach to call them up and say like, so help me, if you're Strava or you send me your Whoop information or whatever, and it says it's over this, we're gonna fight. Like, some people need that. But okay, so not keeping the easy days easy, and making them another hard day,
right.
Semi-hard day,
just even rest days. People don't realize rest is where the magic really happens. You do the work on the track or you do the work on the trail. But the magic happens when you're asleep and when you rest.
Right. Seeing the benefits of it is letting your body, like the whole process, right? Recovering after it, and the muscles grow and tissue gets all back to place. And it's like, okay, now time to perform again. And maybe it's a little better. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Is there a, I don't want to say, again, like not with a common thing. How would you remedy that?
Well, there's two ways. Most people are pretty, they try to be compliant when you put things into their training plan. But, little things like a text. Hey, remember, tomorrow's an easy day.
Yeah.
Just go easy, or take a whole day off and rest. To have that reassurance that it's okay.
Yeah.
And then to educate people, when you look at physiology, and a lot of people don't go deep into physiology, the rest, like I said, that's where the magic happens. The mitochondria start to multiply. The little micro tears in your muscles repair and grow bigger.
All the healing to get bigger, right? And then okay.
Yeah, so that education piece comes in really handy. So, a little reminder, that's kind of the cheerleader. And then, the I don't know, drill sergeant say, excuse me, I noticed yesterday you were supposed to do your hill repeats, and there was no data.
And it was not there. So I'm sure it just hasn't connected or uploaded yet. I'm sorry you're having phone problems, but
that's right.
Whenever you're ready to upload that, I would that's probably how I would lean. Like I said, I like the honesty and the information and being like strict. If I'm there to get it done, then I want someone to tell me that I'm not getting it done, or to correct me in a way more perfect and straighten me out, and give me information that I may be blind to or not know of. And I'm sure that comes with coaches too. If you get someone that wants to get better, but maybe they're getting in their own way, of like you tell them one thing and they're like, oh no, I listen to this podcast or whatever else, and this should be that, and you gotta like bang your head against the wall. Like, we're not there yet. Is that does that happen? I mean, I would think, or am I just
Yeah.
all kinds of people?
Yeah, you have to really look at who you're dealing with. So I've got a fellow that he pushes and pushes and pushes himself, and here's another way to address the issue. He wouldn't rest. Well, he kind of got forced into a pattern of resting, and he's a cyclist, and his FTP, or his power, that's how you measure improvement in a lot of cyclists, increased dramatically after taking some rest. And that was a point that we could sit down and say, hey,
here's the proof.
Here's good job, man.
Yeah.
You took a break, you rested, and look what it's doing. So, for him, it's kind of rewarding the behavior. And,
right.
And you get to it like that. And everybody's different. And that's where that relationship piece really comes into play.
Yeah, that's very important. That's what we kind of had talked about before. And again, why I wanted to, a portion of why to have this episode and the ideas came to me, because it's really, for people that are trying to grow, either to be professional or just better yourself, but it's a relationship with the coach or with someone that is trying to help you in the best way, or help, that wants to see you perform well. So if it's more than just an app or your watch telling you like, hey, you're doing this okay, or whatnot, or today's should be this many hours of that, where you can have a human reach out to you and say, this is what you should be working on, or good job, or call you, or if I have someone to call and I'm got 20 miles left in my first 100 miler or whatever it is, and then have some encouraging words from someone that's been like, really working with you and knows what you've been through, and they're trying like, dude, you put in all these hours, like you got to take a second, or here's a smart plan of attack, or we can talk about this, the whole risk versus reward kind of situation in places where, are you pushing yourself enough? Are you being a baby, or is it time to be smart and plan for, to fight another day kind of thing? But having that human aspect is very important.
Yeah.
So what's your, when do I call it, Chris? If I call you and I'm like, I don't know, again, I think it's going to come back to depending on the person. You have to know them, but like, right. Is it hot? Am I complaining and uncomfortable, or am I on the verge of, hurting myself? So what's kind of your thought on the risk and reward?
Yeah. So, and we talked about this while we were out on the trail. I do what I call the risk reward matrix, and it's part of training. You have to train this way of thinking so that when you're out and thinking is really difficult, it just comes naturally. And in endurance sports, there are a bajillion times that thinking is, it's just not there.
Just move your muscles.
Yeah. So the risk or reward matrix is just a way of saying, if I'm doing something, there's a risk in doing it, in whatever it is.
Right, of course.
Do I eat this gel? Do I take this step? And not that you have to think through everything, but just to illustrate the point, every action has a risk, but there's also potential reward. And so can you evaluate whatever risk you're taking and the reward or the consequences? So, for example, you want to start out and there's a whole bunch of people just surging real fast. And you, through your training, you've discovered how hard you need to start, how long you can go, what happens. And so you know that you're risking bonking and not finishing if you start too hard. And so you say, well, if I start too hard, there's a chance that I'll bonk. Am I willing to take that risk? And is the reward to get to the end? Am I really going to be competing for that first place spot?
Right. What's your goal? What's the plan of attack for this race here? Yeah. Okay.
And, with a lot of amateur athletes, I say, well, are you getting paid? Because that's different. If you're going to get $10,000 for finishing on a hurt ankle,
burn the boats. Yeah. Get after it. Yeah.
That's different than, you got a hurt ankle, but then, you won't be able to go on a vacation.
Yeah, right. Yes. And that's kind of, Yeah, you've got to be able to, right, with proper training or with coaching or someone that's helping you, having that almost subconsciously, like you said, where you've been in that place before, which takes it. You have to do some hard things, push yourself, so you know when things are difficult. And I think I've tried to explain that to people before too. Oh, it's a sweet Mustang.
Yeah.
Now back to the show. You don't know your limit until you try to reach it, and like we'll never really know our limit, right? Have you ever? Most people can take one more step, or you hear a lot of people all the time. Like I feel like maybe I didn't leave it all out there, and I could have pushed it a little more. But you can't find those boundaries unless you try to bounce off of them, right, or break through them. So if you're not pushing yourself from time to time and do hard efforts here and there, then it may. I think it causes some either anxiety or you could get scared when you start to get to that limit and you push too hard and like, oh, this is really fast or this is really hard. I don't know. Versus I've done this before a little bit. You feel a little more caution. And again, I think it just kind of nudges your mental toughness or like that ceiling on what you think you can do. And like you're saying, if you haven't been in that or practicing that, you could be quick to say, no, I'm gonna die. No, this is fight or flight, and this isn't good for me. Versus, like you're saying, if you had the coaching or someone in there before, you could like, this is gonna suck. Uncomfortable is okay. If this is your A race, remember this is what we trained for. This is your A race. Let's get it done. Or this is not your A race, or you've got your honeymoon in 2 weeks or whatnot, something like that, and plan it. Yeah, right. If we can go back and forth on that, like you have to kind of have your sights set right and have things planned out.
And that's, where, coaching and being able to unpack all that during your training.
Exactly.
Helps you so that when you get to that point that you can make those decisions and you know who you are and what you're capable of. Or maybe even better, that you've got that inner strength to go find new things.
Yeah, and reach out there for that. With that, and we'll come back to this definitely towards the end too. And we talk again back to what we kind of brief conversation out there. But yeah, speaking of new things, so when you haven't been into fitness and biking a long time, and coaching a long time too, but now recently more involved in the running and trail running. So you recently, has it been recently? I was going to bring up the night run thing, which is really cool too. But yeah, I mean, you've been getting after it too. So what's some of your, in the last 2 years or year and a half, what's some of your again more of the cooking that the chef himself has ate and tried, and what's some of the distance and things that you've learned and just kind of fun trail talk more out there. So
So like I said, this time I came to running and actually stuck with it because of an accident on the bicycle. And and I really, was just kind of exploring trail running and excuse me. And when I ran my first trail run, I was hooked. I was just like, man, this is it. And that was a 25K.
This was the Chupacabra?
The Chupacabra, yeah. And so I thought, man, this is just one of the coolest things in the world. So I decided to focus more on the trail running, and of course, ultra running is just part of the trail running
it's in
culture.
It. Yep.
And so I ran. Actually, my first marathon was the marathon at the 6-0 Ranch.
Oh, very good. Yeah. I got to run that course. Okay.
And so I did that, and then I did the Paris Pear 50K, and we talked a little bit about this. DNF'd almost against my will at the Lake Murray, endurance run, and that was another one of those risk reward. And I'm currently training to do the 100K Rocky Raccoon in February.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I just signed up for my first 100K a couple weeks ago, but it's not till March. The crazy desert, whatever, in San Angelo. Awesome. Well, yeah, you've got a couple months.
Yeah.
And Rocky's a great. I looked into that one too, and I was thinking about making it. doing the 50K there, just again to kind of get some serious miles going and everything. Awesome. Yeah, Rocky, I've heard good things. So,
Yeah.
ooh.
But, the experience that I've had is, well, of course, number one, I'm a gravel bike rider. And so, putting in 7-8 hours of intense effort
Oh, right.
is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's up my alley. Doing it in the heat, in the dirt, so trail running is exactly the same thing for me. It's those long, hard hours in the dirt, and it's just where I love to be.
Very good. I find a lot of, and I've mentioned to a lot of people too when I'm out here running, the long runs. I remember when I thought it was crazy to run over an hour. And now you kind of understand like your pace and aerobic and anaerobic and how you're doing this. Like, dude, you can go for a long time. Just don't be silly, unless it's a hard day and we're going silly. But yeah, it's a good just kind of meditation time for prayer and thinking and get out here. And I think it's a lot of, if you can just do anything by yourself for an hour or 2 hours and just have kind of your time with your head and being out here, and it kind of makes you grateful, just out in the nature, your mental toughness has got to like double and shoot through the roof. Like it, and I think that bleeds into a lot of other parts of life that helps, either being grateful or just like if you can get a run done early in the morning, like, look, I've already done something. Or if you can, I ran, wow, I've never ran an hour before, and you run an hour. But yeah, a lot of the time on feet, and it's funny, I find myself looking into, the other night I was looking up mountain bike stuff because they're so close to each other, and like, I know I'm going to start biking too, and just because we run through some of the trails here, and it's like, I bet this little hill would be fun to go over on a bike, not just run over on my feet. Like, I'll catch a little air on this maybe, and but they definitely bleed together, and they work. It's people that want to push themselves and be outside. The mental side definitely grows a lot. You said was your first 50K the Paris Pear? Is that
It was Paris Pear.
Very good. And where is? I want to say it's north-ish Texas.
Yeah, North Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, almost up to the Oklahoma line.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, that one I think is around coming up soon as well. Again, I want to say it's a cold race.
No, actually.
No, I'm thinking of the Cactus Rose.
September. Maybe?
Okay, I'm thinking of the Rose. That's what it is then. Running the Rose.
Oh yeah,
which I
Tyler.
think is yes, that's the one. That's what I said. Yeah. I'm getting them all mixed up and stuff. So,
I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned about just being you out there on the road, and you talked about being present, and you talked about just enjoying the glory of the Lord out there too. But I think something that's lacking with a lot of people is just that meditation time, and running without a phone, I mean, even if it's just off.
Oh, right.
And and especially out on the trails, where you have to focus on just being where you are.
Yeah.
That's a gift
100%.
that you give to yourself. And when you're able to say, look at this wonderful world that's been created and given to us, and know that you're a part of it.
Yeah,
It's just amazing, and it builds something in you that a lot of people miss.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I've with the running, and I signed my wife up against her will last year to do a race. But part of why I wanted her to, and I tell her too when I get to run and things, is it's just good. It's good to have that time and alone time, and being with the focus is a great thing that you mentioned. And that's partly why I like trail. It's nice to go on a sidewalk. Yesterday I ran for a while on a sidewalk, and I could have listened to something if I wanted to and been totally fine, not have to worry about tripping on roots and rocks and things. But the element that comes in when you're running trails or fast or getting after something, but being very present and focused, and you're not getting distracted. And I think that kind of, again, tunes that up in your mind that you are able to do that, and it's something you can complete. And it's just kind of almost like a detox from everything else and being out again, and it helps me with being grateful. That just leads into everything else, and it's really cool. And now I was gonna mention as well, along with your really interesting background, you're also coding and very smart on the computer, but you've also went through seminary school and learned a lot in I assume theology and Bible. Like he's quite the character. When was that? When your first kind of career idea or path, I guess? Or
No. So actually, I was in the service, and I was a Russian linguist in the Air Force, and it talked about the fact that I also taught Russian.
right.
But while I was doing that, I really felt a call into ministry. And a little known fact, but for many years, I was, well, I guess we'll just throw it out there. I was an alcoholic, and my life was miserable, and I was rescued from it. The Lord came and rescued me, and really put on my heart ministry, working with other people.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You could relate to or connect, and you want to say, yeah.
And so I finished up a degree, and one of my majors was religion, and so I I thought, well, I want to go to seminary, and I signed up and got accepted to seminary, and as it would happen, I got orders to leave, and wouldn't be able to follow my seminary track, and I would actually have to leave my family behind for a year or two, and I didn't want to do that. So I left the military to go finish up in seminary. That's what brought me to Fort Worth.
Okay.
And so I finished up a Master of Divinity.
Wow.
With biblical languages, and having been a Russian linguist, I fell in love with Greek.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
So yeah, and then that led into some part-time pastoral positions, and my ministry focus actually kind of became laser focused during that time, and I realized I'm not meant to be a pastor, but I am meant to be a minister. And so I find my ministry is not in that professional capacity.
Right, and there's definitely a difference in my pastor, and you've heard people will say it like everyone has their different gifts and setups and things that you're strong in or weaknesses, and some people that's it, and they can want to pastor, and some people it's like I like the idea, and I've thought about like I really like learning about the Bible and the history and the theology and all that thing behind it, and I'm like, but I don't know if there's a lot to it, right? And then like you're saying, if you could still reach people and minister to them in different ways, and depending on where you're placed, and hopefully realize that's the path to be on and everything. It's a lot, very interesting. Yeah, and very, very neat and perfect, again, with this podcast. I didn't know that until we started talking, and I was like, wow. Like, again, I like the idea of with the trail running and to be grateful because that's my heart, right? But I feel like I have to give, always glory to God and be thankful that here I am and then talk to some people. And I've kind of, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before. I'm sure I have. But like the idea with this was to, I have a background in audio and radio and stuff, and I was like, I want to talk about it. We'll do a podcast. That'll keep me sharp on editing and all these things and just have fun with it. I'll get to learn more. And then I kind of, if someone, I don't like to use the word sneaky, but I'm thinking if people got something out of this and listened to it and liked, and then like they were listening to this episode today, and then they hear us talking about like God, like, oh, I thought Christians were mean or crazy or whatever. Yeah. Like, hey, I guess they're okay. So yeah. Anyway, if you're listening, hey, we're okay.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of people would look at me, and I do have kind of a rough appearance. And they would never guess that about me.
It's not because it's close to Christmas, but Chris does have a big beard. He's just a guy. Yeah. A guy. Awesome. That's I wanted to talk about that for that's great. with, again, if someone's listening and thinking about getting with Chris here for coaching or whatnot, but what makes you smile? Like, what topics do you like to talk about when someone gets involved? Is it nutrition, or is it like setting workout plans for somebody, or what do you get excited about or really like to?
Yeah, good question. Because training plans is probably my least favorite part.
Really,
Yeah,
really, okay.
because I pretty much do that in isolation. So it's the time that I actually get to spend with the athlete that's my favorite time.
Yeah.
I love to be able to share in somebody's joy in their accomplishment. And, you talk about nutrition, and part of my training is I am a certified sports nutritionist and a weight loss specialist, because I find those are areas that a lot of people really want help with. And, there's something great about somebody saying, wow, man, I can't believe I lost that 10 pounds that I never thought I would lose. Or, man, I never thought I'd be able to run a 10K in under 50 minutes, and I get to share that with them.
Yeah, being that, again, with your background in teaching and literally helping people be better, coaching's right. It's the same. I mean, coaching and teaching, it's all right there. So you definitely have a knack for connecting with people for them to better themselves. And that's awesome. So I'm sure, that's got to be really fulfilling. I get happy when I help my kids with something and they know how to read a word or whatever, So just helping full adults, I can't. Yeah, it's great. And you've got some, not reviews. What's the word? Testimony, or is that on your website? Well, people reviews like, hey, here's this guy I worked with, and he's like, look, this is my experience. Very, very good. So, definitely that one-on-one. And you were kind of telling me too, like with that one-on-one. So you do have, they're not down the road. You do online, right? Phone calls and all that kind of stuff. So good. And then if they are able to meet you in person, you have a kind of a gate set up. Y'all can kind of review their gait and their step and stuff at your
So I can do a gait analysis. We can do that at my office, at my house. But what's even more fun is just to go out on a run.
Just do it,
or just go out on a ride and just get out there and chill and enjoy the sport. And the camaraderie that comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly why I like to, if I can meet with somebody and do a little run, because we both like to run, and then here we are, and it kind of loosens us up and get us out here, and we're like, oh, especially if we know the same trail, when I'm like, oh, this part here is cool, and it makes sense to me. Like, if we could be outside, we would, and it's just the time of year it's getting a little chilly and windy, but yes. That's great. So someone, you can talk to them online if you're not in the area, or meet up with them. Let me see. I want to make sure. I'm going to check my list, make sure I didn't forget anything. If I can turn this
So
here.
I'll just add, there's text message, Facebook.
Oh, really?
Liking somebody's run on Strava.
And being a part of them. Yeah.
That's all part of that.
Yeah. It of course, like you're not, it's not like you're buying a friendship, but a coach should be a friend in a way, but in a professional sense, like, that's what they're helping you for, and they'll be here, and it's someone you can, better than, a couple TikToks or clips you watched, right? But it's good to be surrounded by that. I listen to a lot of running and this kind of the media podcasts and things in this sport, and that's really interesting. They just had TRE in Austin, so I've been, looking and hearing people talk about new shoes and new products and new this and that, and that's all exciting, and being involved in it so much. But again, having someone on a personal level, I think is what's really, it has to be. I mean, that's the only thing that's missing if you're just trying to fill out something online and someone's curious and like, well, this says this and this says this, I'm just not sure why I'm getting better. At some point, you're gonna plateau, or you're gonna be looking for something a little more and get that edge and everything. So, again, kind of back to, come full circle. If that's what your goals are in 2025, then maybe it's to get, a coach or to talk to them and get a question them out and stuff. So where people can find you too on the website, I wanted to ask, like we mentioned before, why did you name it Type 2 Sports?
Good question again. I think you slipped a little bit, and you mentioned Type 2 fun.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And that is where Type 2 Sports came from.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know what Type 2 fun is, Type 2 fun is the kind of fun that at the time you're doing it doesn't seem fun at all. In fact, it can seem downright miserable, absolutely horrible at the time. But because you're putting forth the effort, because you're working on this big hairy goal that you had, and when you're done, you look back and you're like, yes, look at that.
Yeah.
It's the person who runs their first marathon and they're dragging themselves across the line, and you think their response is going to be, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
And the first thing you hear them say is, wow, I can't wait to sign up for my next one.
That's the big, yes, exactly. You explained it much more better than me, but that's finishing, and then you're like, wow, that was rough, that was hard. And then there's always the maybe 48 hours after, and you're like, so what's next? And what, you find yourself looking through races coming up, and you're like, yeah. Yeah, it's and the community is great too. Would you say the same? For the most part, the community of trail runners, everyone is kind of in that same boat of wanting to see people push themselves and wanting everyone to kind of grow and just have fun, and it's a great mix of people. Yeah,
I'll tell you, the trail running community is absolutely amazing because in a lot of sports it's very competitive, and people are not always, your competitors are not always supportive of you.
Yeah, right.
But when you're out there on the trail, everybody is like, hey, good job. Looking good out there.
Yep.
If you're dragging, somebody's going to come by and they're going to say, hey, you doing all right? You need some help? You need a gel?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter who you are, how good you are, how, poor you are. Everybody's for everybody out there because it's all about finishing.
Right.
And everybody knows just how hard some of it is.
Yes.
And the fact that you're even trying just sets you a cut above all those who wouldn't even dare.
That's perfect. 100%. If you're towing the line, you're already, better than what you thought you were, maybe however many days or time ago. You are ready to do this hard thing. You may have signed up for it and paid for it, whatever. But when they say go and you're at the line, you take off. All right. It's just nice to be around other people, right? Want to try hard things, do better and push themselves. And you've been involved in that with biking and then running too. And you have all the great, I want to say, badges of working with people and helping people grow and be better and stuff. So this great foundation, and kind of mixture of what a coach can provide and stuff. So it's great. It's awesome. You eat what you cook. You're part of it. You're involved right in the trenches. You're doing your races. You did the. I'll touch on real quick too, and we'll kind of wrap it up. But what were the 3 night races you did with Outlaw Running?
Oh,
because I didn't even know they made like a series badge for that, or all 3 of them fit together. It was the Noche, Lone Star,
and then I'm trying to think. It was down there. It was at Llano State Park. I forget the name.
I know the other one. That's what I can't remember either. But there's 3, correct?
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, trail running at night, it's a totally different beast. I know on one of them, I fell 3 times.
Good gravy.
And I'm not talking about just a little trip. I'm talking about
ate it.
And I came back, and the shoulder was bloody, the knee was bloody.
Oh my gosh.
I was chafed. It was tough, but it was one of the most fun races I've ever done. I loved it.
That's great. And I'm sure, night races, we didn't really touch about that too much, but that's a whole nother level. If you've never ran a night race before, it's different. It's fun. It's not as hot if it's during the summer, but it's dark and you need a headlamp, and it's a different animal, but it's really fun. And that's, yeah, I remember seeing you went through those, and I was like, oh man, he's getting after it. That's really cool. Well, Chris, yeah, go through, make sure I didn't miss anything. If you wanted to say anything, or where can people, what's the best way for people to reach you and find you and everything?
Yeah, well, find me on the web at Type 2 Sports, and that's the number 2.
Yes.
Type2sports.com, and you can find me there. Send me an email, chris@type2sports.com. Hit me up on Facebook, Chris Hill. Find me in the Burleson Running Club.
Yep.
Talk to some people. Who knows? And if you just want to chat and see if we'd get along, because that's a big part of it, just, give me a buzz, send me an email. Let's connect and see if it works or not.
Yeah. Perfect. Right. So yeah, if you've listened to this and you're thinking about it, you got a buddy that's looking for a coach and thinking about it, tell them to listen to this as well. Chris Hill's been great. And like you said, email him, reach out to him there, send a message, super friendly. I mean, yeah, this is a great, a great test of someone, that's what I want people to be able to do, is kind of get a sense of how you are, and just, it's all, smiles and fun, but he knows what he's talking about. So Mr. Chris Hill, thank you so much, man.
All right. Well, thank you. And I
Appreciate
appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.